And the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair, when the saints of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. On that bright and cloudless morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise, and the glory of his resurrection share, when his chosen ones shall gather to their home beyond the sky, yonder I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. Let us labor for the Master from the dawn to setting sun. And when all of life is over and our work on earth is done, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there.
Amen. Well, we want to give our missionaries as much time as possible tonight. It's good to have them with us. Missionaries to Romania, and we were in school together. And so it's good to see them again. They're back just a couple weeks. Their son is getting married. Son, not daughter. Son, yes, okay. Is getting married in Minnesota. And so they're back for that and only going to be back. And I'm thankful they could come by our church on this trip. And I know all their kids' names, but I'm going to let them introduce them because their daughter's name I messed up pretty good. I know it now, but I messed it up pretty good earlier. And I don't want to give her a complex. But she was going to come sing for us. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm really trying to make her nervous. But we enjoyed dinner with them tonight, and they are just making their way through. And I wanted them to share about the work that God's doing in Romania. And God is doing a work, and we're thankful for that. It's always good to hear updates from Sharon Manning. And many of you know Sharon. She's ministering in Romania with the gypsies there. And so she'll be back here soon, and she's going to give us an update as well. But it's good to have y'all. And I'm going to let you introduce your family, and he's going to share what the Lord's doing in Romania, and then he's going to preach for us tonight. And so we're grateful that they're here. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here. All right. All right, you guys stand up then, and we'll get you introduced here first of all. Brent and my wife Sarah, and we have 5 children altogether. So the ones I have with me, we have Danae. So you see why he messed up the name, Danae, kind of unusual. And then that's little Justin in the middle, and then Noah. You guys can sit down. Then we have 2 other kids that are studying down in Pensacola right now. Our daughter is 19. She just finished her freshman year in Bethany. And then our oldest son is 22, Jacob, and he's the one who'll be getting married in a little less than a week from now up in Minneapolis. So am I turned on? Did I not turn on? I'm all right? Okay, good. All right, so we've been in Romania for 14 years, and we just got back last night. Yesterday we were in Europe still, so we're trying to get adjusted. We're trying to get rested up. My head is almost where it needs to be, so you pray with me, and hopefully we'll be able to get across to you what it is that we've been doing there in Romania, what we hope to do in the future, and then, as Pastor said, we'll get a chance to look into God's Word also. How do I start the pictures, guys? Oh, we'll send the boss to the back. There you go. There we go. Okay. All right, so for 14 years, we've been in Romania, and the first 6, 7 years, I was working out a Bible Institute and a big camp property, and we were doing church planting and things. But really what I want to share with you tonight is what we've been doing in the last maybe 7 or 8 years. One of my students that graduated, one of the first graduating classes from the Bible Institute, his name was Mircea. Mircea is a gypsy there in Romania, lives in a village in the northwest corner of Romania. And I went with him and his dad. This is his dad here, Altilo. Me, Mircea, and Altilo have been trying to plant churches in gypsy villages in that area. And so we try and make a friend, one friend in a village. Once we know one person in a village, the doors open and things get a lot easier from there. We get accepted into the village. We can go in. We can talk to people on the street. We can hold church services on the street corner. We can do pretty much what we want once we have one friend in the village. And so we just talk to people on the street. And as we begin to get to know people, as we begin to see them showing an interest in the Lord, in having a church, then we will go ahead and plant the church in that village. So the pictures here are from Turulung, which was the first church that we planted once we started working as a team together. Turulung was a crazy gypsy village. It was, I didn't know this when we got in there at first, but it was dangerous. The way I told you we have to make a friend. That was our big thing. We make a friend in a village. So this man here in the front, his name is also Altilo. He's the friend that we made. Here's how we made the friends with Altilo. My Altilo, Mircea's dad, was in the city, not far from here one time. And he went into like a bar, cafe kind of thing to make a phone call. He walked in, and this Altilo with his friends were sitting there drinking brandy at a table, and they said they didn't know each other. But this Altilo says to my Altilo, "Come here and sit down and have a drink with us." And he just kind of laughs. He said, "Oh, no, it's all right, I don't drink." "What, are you too good for us? Come down and sit down and have a drink with us." He's like, "Look, guys, no trouble. I just came to make a phone call, and then I'll be out of here." So my Altilo leaves. This Altilo runs out into the street after him, ready to beat him. And somehow, before the beating takes place, they discover they're actually related somehow. They have some. So they started talking and became friends. And my Altilo explains to this Altilo, "Look, I'm an evangelist. I'm a pastor. We plant churches." He says, "Then you have to come to our village." And so we start going to Turulung, to this guy's village. And we set up on his front lawn, speakers, singing, preaching. People come and start listening. It got to the point where people were getting saved, people were being baptized, and so we were going to build a church building. We went and talked to the mayor about what we need to do, getting permits and everything, and he said, "You guys do whatever you want, just keep doing what you're doing." "What do you mean?" He's like, "The change that's taken place in that neighborhood, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. I don't care what you do. No permits needed. Just go and do whatever you want to do." This place, Turulung, was so bad. I mean, it was, in Romania, we have a special unit of the police. It's kind of like riot police is what they are, I guess, riot police. And they wear like black clothes, black boots, and masks over their face. And when they get called in, they just walk in and they just start beating everybody with sticks. Anybody who's outside gets beaten. So these Moscots, I used to think, the stories I heard was they used to go like about once a week into this neighborhood. About a month ago, I was talking to another man for the church, and he's like, every week. He's like, they were there every day. They were in here beating on us. But now, in the last year, I think these Moscots is what they're called, the riot police, they've been there once in the last year. So it's just a complete change in this neighborhood. God has changed these peoples. And so now Altilo, this Altilo, he's been learning to read because he wants to be a preacher. He didn't know how to read. So he had his son teach him how to read because he wants to be a preacher. Then the second church we planted is in Media Shawarit. So Media Shawarit is this Attila and his son Mircea home village. And so that is kind of our main church. That is the church where we now use men in that church to help us go out and try and plant churches in other villages. Picture from a couple years ago during COVID. COVID made things difficult for us over there, like I'm sure it did for you here. We had to meet outside for a while. It got to the point where they didn't even let us meet outdoors. Like this is in our courtyard. They wouldn't let us do that. We couldn't have any public meetings. And so we went and talked to the police and actually to the mayor, first of all, and we said, look, we understand that we're not allowed to meet. Here's what we're going to do. Now, understand this village is basically one street, just house after house after house going along that main street. And so we told the mayor, we're not going to have church services. We're not going to meet. We're just going to put our speakers out on the front of the street in front of our church, and we're going to sing some songs, and we're going to preach. And if people want to sit out in front of their houses, they're welcome to do that. And the mayor said, sounds good to us. We went and checked with the police. The police said, yeah, that's fine. Just don't let them all get together. And so we were able to have church services just out on the middle of the street for the time when we were restricted because of COVID. Then we had some girls come and say, hey, there are 5 girls. We said, we want to be baptized. And we said, okay, that's awesome. As soon as we're done with COVID and we can get back in the building, we'll have a baptism. And they said, we don't want to wait. And we said, all right, we'll have a baptism outside then. So we set up there. Then when it was time for the actual baptism, we actually lifted the bathtub, put it right in the middle of the street, filled it up with water, and then we just baptized them on the street. The police drove by. They drove up the street. They looked at us. They waved and smiled, and they just kept on going. So everything was good. But church has been growing. Turlung, we've been seeing great changes. And in Media Shawarit, we've been seeing great changes too. The building is filling up Sunday after Sunday. We have so many people there, new people. We're having baptism after baptism. So we're thrilled with the way the Lord has been working in both of those villages. So this is Mircea's wife, Vera. She is our Sunday school teacher. We try and put an emphasis on work with the children there in the village. In Romania, that's kind of uncommon. They don't really care about the kids. The kids just kind of play outside during church services because, in their opinion, kids, they can't be saved anyway. They don't understand. We'll worry about them when they get older. We have a different philosophy. We try and get the word into the children as early as we can. And so we have a lot of big programs and things that we do for the children there in Medieș. Oh, and then these are some of the children in Turlung at the other church. Okay, sorry, I don't have my glasses. I'm having a hard time seeing my face. I got to look this way. During the summers, also working with children, we do summer camps. But what we do is, instead of actually having a summer camp at this point, we've been traveling to villages all over the country of Romania. We go anywhere in Romania that people are willing to have us. And this particular situation, we were in a building, but a lot of times we take our tent with us and we set up our big tent and we have camp for a week for the children in that village. So the way we usually run these camps is during the morning and early afternoon, we have the children come to the tent and we do games and we do Bible stories and we do singing and lessons and crafts and kind of like a big VBS, I guess is what it would be like for the children in these different villages. Gypsy villages or Romania, it doesn't matter, but the poorer villages of the country. And then in the evenings, we call the adults to come back, and we do evangelistic services for the adults during the evenings. So during the day, we're doing these big VBS programs for the children, and then in the evenings, big evangelistic outreaches for the adults. So like I said, we'll go anywhere in the country. We've been pretty much everywhere in the country, and just set up for that week doing whatever we can to be a blessing to the local church that's in the area. We generally don't go to a village where there isn't some kind of a gospel presence, some kind of a church, or maybe a church wants to get a church planted in that village, because it's not it's not extremely useful for us to go for a few days and then leave and these kids never hear anything again. So we try and work with somebody that wants. Wow, those go fast. We try and work in an area where somebody wants to get a church or build a church in that area and just kind of give them a boost in that gospel presentation. Now, speaking of camp, we did, just this last year, we were able to buy a piece of property. So we have the property paid for. We want to build a camp. We realize it's going to take a while because there's a lot involved. With the money that we raised, we were able to buy the property. We had there we go. We had the tractors come in and kind of level. It's on the side of a mountain, so we had the tractors come in. They leveled out a soccer field. They leveled out areas to build a couple of cabins. But now we're down to the point where we only have enough money to get some of the paperwork done, and then we're going to have to raise more money before we actually start building. But we're praying that in the next couple of years, the Lord will bring that money in, and we'll be able to get this camp property built there for the kids. The camp will be used mostly for the gypsy children and the orphan children that we have in the northwest part of the country. Now, the last part of the ministry that I want to talk about for tonight, over the last year, we have also been able to have this ministry to Ukraine. We live right on the border of Ukraine. Yeah, we've been making trips since the war started over there, trying to be a blessing however we can to the Christians and trying to get the gospel out to the people in Ukraine. So these signs, you see them all over the country. The basic translation is everything is going to be Ukraine, and that's their way of saying everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. But over the last year, things have not been so okay for the poor people in Ukraine. We've seen total destruction. We've been into cities that have been completely destroyed. This picture, that used to be like an extremely fancy hotel, and that's all that's left of it. So we drive down the road and we just we go city after city, village of village, with just destroyed buildings, where not even a single building is left completely intact. I don't know if you can tell, that's a tank just on the side of the road. You drive down the road and there are like tanks burned out all along the place. There's like a tank graveyard that we drive by at one point. So we really see the destruction that these people have been trying to live through. So this is our church there in Medi Yeshua Rit, and they have helped us a few times put together boxes. We get these boxes, filled them with food, and it's enough food to feed a family of 4 for about a week. And then we load them up into our trucks and into our trailers, and get them across into the people there in Ukraine. We have teamed up with a church in Cherkasy, and Cherkasy is right in the very middle of Ukraine. And they have people there that are trying to make trips all over the country. So they have this big room in their church, and we try and help them keep their warehouse filled with food. And then the people of that church, so the people of our church in Romania, we get some things together. We take it to them. The people in their church, they work and help us. This is Polinka. Polinka is my little friend there in Cherkasy. Whenever we're working, she's always trying to help us work too. This is what she sent me after we were the first time that I met her. All right, so I'm the one with the beard, and yeah. She drew me holding a Ukrainian flag, and then that's her on the other side. She didn't know what a Canadian flag looked like, so she just made it blue. So that's the story behind that picture. So one of the things that we do then is we minister to the refugees that are in the area of Cherkasy. So we put together these packages, we go to where the refugees are, and then they come and we hand out food to them. Right there in the area. And it's been great. It's been an amazing outreach. People have been getting saved through the outreach and have been joining the church there in Cherkasy. So since the war began, people have been leaving the country, and that includes people from that church in Cherkasy. Many people have left, but the church never shrank because new people are getting saved and coming into the church through these outreaches to the refugees. Once the Russians started attacking the electrical grid in the country, and that was as we were coming into winter. Things got really tough for the people in Ukraine. So this is a big generator that we were able to buy for that church in Chikasi. And so when the electricity is down, especially during the winter, people would come to the church where they had the generator going. They could warm up. They could charge up their phones, and then they had like ramen or hot soup or something to feed the people so they could warm up a little bit before going back home. And so that was another way that the people and the church in Chikasi was able to reach out to the refugees there in Ukraine. And then we also actually go to the front lines where the war is actually taking place. And we minister to the people that are still living there. I don't know why, but there are people that have not left these cities that are being, where that war is actually taking place. So we go and we have to kind of gain the trust of somebody in that village or city. Then they'll tell us where everybody is hiding. They're usually hiding in basements of apartment buildings somewhere. And then we can go and we can give them the food that they need to get them through another week or two. Then we also go to the soldiers that are fighting. You can imagine what it's like for these soldiers. Most of the soldiers aren't soldiers. They're just civilians who said, oh, we got to fight. And so they train for a few weeks, and then they're thrown out to the front line. So we go to them, we get them, try and take them supplies that they're going to need. We try and take them some kind of food, anything that can be an encouragement to them, and then we get to sit and we get to share the gospel with them. Like I said, the church there in Chikasi has been growing even during this horrible time for them. So last year, they had a big baptism, and they invited me to go and preach for this baptism because of all the people that have been getting saved because of the outreach that they've been able to do to the refugees in the area. Okay, I know I went through that pretty fast. I was trying not to be too long, but if you have any questions before we get into the word, if anybody has any questions about our ministry there in Romania or Ukraine or about our family, I'd be happy to try and answer those for you. Any questions at all? Yeah.
What is the background of like the people's religion? What do they believe and how hard is it to give them the true gospel?
Sure. Okay. It can be difficult a lot of times because they are Christian. Okay, they are Orthodox. Okay, so Orthodox and Catholicism very similar, about the same thing. They used to be the same. Without going into church history, the two of them broke off at one point. So they have a similar doctrine to the Catholic Church. And so they think, well, I went to church on Easter, I went to church on Christmas, I try not to do things that are too bad. What's the problem? I'm good, I'm sure God's going to let me into heaven. And so they don't see the need of a Savior. They don't see the need of the gospel. So it can be hard to reach the Romanian people. You try and talk to them and they say, well, what religion are you? And, we tell them and they say, oh, well, you have your religion, I have my religion, everything's good. It's a little bit different with the Gypsy people, though, because the Gypsy people, most of them are not Orthodox. They don't really have a religion. But the problem with them is they have a mix of a lot of different things that they've heard. So whenever we go to a village, a Gypsy village, we have to try and figure out what they believe before we can really do anything else. Because they may have a lot of Orthodox beliefs, or they may have a lot of them are Reformed, or they may have a mix of like Christianity and other like mysticism type religions. So it's very difficult. Because Romania is a Christian nation, technically, we used to go into villages and we'd start preaching, just trying to say, okay, this is what the true gospel is. This is what the gospel is. But we got into one village where the people, after we preached a complete gospel message, got to the end and they said, oh, that's cool, but who's Jesus, right? They didn't even know who Jesus was. And that goes back to the fact, the racism that's in Romania against the Gypsy people. So even the Orthodox Church doesn't really want to have to deal with the Gypsy people. And so every village, every town has an Orthodox church, but often they won't go in and talk to the Gypsy neighborhoods. So step one is figuring out what they believe, and then from there trying to minister to them. Other questions? Yes?
How's the exchange rate affected
Yeah. It's been a rough few months, I'll tell you that. It's dropped, let me think for a second. It was 5 to 1, 4 to 1, 20. We lost maybe 15% over the last few months. 15%, yeah. It happens. Anything else? Yes?
What about the economy of Romania? What do those people do for their livelihood or jobs? And once the churches are established, are the churches generous in their giving eventual food that they distribute in various places?
Sure. Okay. First part of the question, I'm sorry. Economic, yeah, okay. So the country in Romania, inflation has been bad here. Inflation has been worse there. It has been every month. We're looking at what the year over year inflation is, and it's like 13, 14, 15% every month. So inflation has been bad. It's been bad enough that a lot of the people in Romania, they cannot survive. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. They're really struggling right now. So the economy is not in a good place right now. But generosity of the churches is actually really interesting, because you get into the cities, the big Romanian churches, a lot of them are not that generous, because for 20 years, since the country opened up, since communism ended in Romania, they have been receiving from the U.S., from Europe. They've been getting, and it's been hard to get them to realize they are at the point now where they need to be giving. So they have sent out a handful of missionaries, but a lot of the missionaries can't raise support. Some of the missionaries, in fact, get American money support in order to go out as missionaries, because they can't raise the support from Romanian churches. But with what you saw, our church, the Gypsy Church, those people tend to be more giving than the Romanian people. Okay, so if you ask a Romanian about a Gypsy person, what's a Gypsy person like? Oh, they're liars and they're thieves and they're always out to get and they're always stealing and so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, the Gypsies that I know, the Gypsies that are truly saved, are far more generous than the actual Romanian people. If somebody was sick in the village, even if they weren't from our village, just a Gypsy from a different village, everybody would be going door to door trying to raise enough money to get this person to the doctor. So they can't give much, but everybody would give something just to help this person. So I go in and I say, hey, we need to make some boxes for Ukraine. All right, they don't have enough money to make all those boxes, okay? I have to raise the money for that. But they will help. They will give what they can, and then they'll come and give their time getting the boxes ready. I told them, look, I will help with the money, but you guys need to do something. And so they come and they work and they do whatever they can. Some of them have even gone to Ukraine with me. At first, they wouldn't go. For the first many months, I'm like, hey, you want to come with me? They're like, I'm not going over there. No way, no, you're crazy. You shouldn't be going. They're scared to death to go over to Ukraine. But now that I've made several trips and haven't died yet, they're like, all right, we'll give it a try. So they're starting to come over with me now too. I always just tell them, there's like food, everything's a lot cheaper in Ukraine than it is in Romania. So I just tell them, oh, there's this restaurant, guys, you wouldn't believe it. It costs like nothing. You can eat as much as you can. It only costs a few dollars. And they're like, maybe I'll come over and try. Yeah.
What about taxes?
Oh, we have taxes. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, they do have income tax, but the Romanian people are very good about getting around a lot of stuff like that. So I don't know how much money the state actually makes through income tax, but they get you on the sales tax because you can't get away from that. So sales tax, you're looking at 19%. So yeah, they get you on the sales tax. Yeah, 19%, yeah. And then gas, I'm sure, is more. See, our gas it just finally went down. It's probably about $6.50 a gallon, but it's been up around $9 a gallon for a long time. Any more questions? Oh, that was easy. All right. I, as you guys have been thinking of questions, I've been trying to see the clock. I cannot see. All I see is like the reflection of lights. Anybody tell me what time it is? That's on purpose. I can go as long as I want then. No, about what time is it? 7:40. 7:40. All right. Let's open our Bibles then. We're going to go to we're going to go to James chapter 1 today. James chapter 1, and I kind of changed what I was going to talk about, and I'll tell you why, because I came in, and like half of you are children in here today, and so we're going to switch up. So if I need as I'm going through this, I need a couple seconds to get my brain in order. Forgive me, it's because I'm speaking something different than what I planned on speaking tonight. I have another problem. You might get to witness this one tonight too. We speak Romanian, preach in Romanian over there. Sometimes I forget the English word for things I want to preach about. So if I get stuck on a word, forgive me. We're going to be in James chapter 1. And let's just start reading in verse 2. James chapter 1 and verse 2 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord." Father in heaven, I thank you again for the time that we have here together this evening. I thank you for the way you are working in Romania and the things that you have done. Lord, I pray that you will continue that great work. Lord, I pray that in the next few moments you will help us to be able to just clear our minds and really concentrate on you and your word and what it is that you have to say for us to us this evening. Lord, I pray that you will help us to receive what it is that you have to say for us. Give us the hearts and minds that are ready to change our lives to be in accord with what it is that you speak to us tonight. I pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. All right, so there in verse 2 says, "My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations." Okay, so first thing we need to look at is temptations. What are we talking about in James when it talks about temptations? There's a little bit of a disagreement about what temptations actually means here. Many people look at the word temptations and say, well, what we're talking about here is... Forgot the English word again already. All right. What we're talking about here is when we have trials in our lives. Temptations, the idea is trials. Other people say, no, temptations is temptations, right? When we're tempted to do what is wrong. So most people go with the idea of, no, it's like trials. When you have a difficult situation in your life, you can count it all joy. But at the same time, the word temptations here is the same word that was used when Jesus Christ was tempted in the wilderness. So really, we have to look at it from both sides. We have to realize the word can mean either one. So he's saying we can count it all joy when we are being tempted, when we are having trials in our lives, when we don't know what to do. Any difficulty that comes into our lives, James says, count it joy when that happens. Now that sounds ridiculous to us if we really stop and think about it for a minute, right? Temptations, trials, difficulties, we don't want those things. How can we possibly count it a joy? Yeah, maybe I can suffer through it. Yeah, maybe I won't complain, but to count it joy when that happens in my life, how is that possible? Well, verse 3, he begins to explain. He says, knowing this, the trying of your faith worketh patience. All right. The trying of your faith worketh patience. So it says when these trials, these temptations, these difficult situations come into your life, it's going to try your faith. And as your faith is tried, your patience is going to grow. All right, so here's the idea. You probably understand, you probably look at me and you can realize pretty quickly, I don't spend a lot of time at the gym working out. All right, but people that do go to the gym to work out, why do they do that? They go, they find the heavy weights, they begin lifting the heavy weights. As they lift the heavy weights, their muscles will grow, yeah? So Let's say that 20 pounds is heavy for somebody at first. They lift 20 pounds. They lift it. They lift it. Their muscles start growing. Pretty soon, 20 pounds becomes easy for them. And so they go to 25 pounds, and they start lifting 25 pounds until the muscles grow. And they can keep increasing the weight as they get used to it, as they grow, because they've been using the muscles. And so here, James says, as you use your faith, your patience will grow. So early on in my Christian life, maybe my faith is not that great, and my patience is not that great. And so God allows these different situations to come into my life that are going to try and test my faith. And as I go through that situation where my faith is being tested, my faith and my patience will grow. Well, then God can allow a more difficult situation to come into my life, and I'll be able to handle it. And then my patience and my faith will be tried again, and it will grow again. And then God can keep allowing more and more difficult situations into my life, and I'll be able to handle them with greater ease. Now, if I was a new Christian and I had this huge, horrible, difficult trial come into my life, there's a chance that I would just give up and I would run back into the world. But after I've been saved for a long time and I've seen God work through many different situations, then I'm able to handle those bigger difficulties in my life because I've been tested, I've been tried, I've grown my faith and my patience. It says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Okay, so why do I care if my faith or my patience grows? Why do I care? Why can't I just say, you know what? I don't care. I don't have patience, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. I would rather just not have patience and not have any difficulties in my life. God says, no. Your faith and your patience need to grow to make you perfect, to make you complete, to make you a whole Christian. If you want to be complete and perfect and grow, then I'm going to have to allow these difficult situations to come into your life so that I can make you a perfect person, make you the person that I want you to be. Verse 5 says what we can do then. We get into these difficult situations, and verse 5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God. Okay, so a trial has come into my life, and I don't know what to do. It feels like it's bigger than I can handle. And I look around and I think, how am I going to get through this? Okay, God, you love me. God, you've allowed this into my life, but I don't know how to handle it. I don't have the wisdom. God, what do I do? It says, ask God for the wisdom. God will give you the wisdom. And not only will he give you the wisdom, it says, he giveth to all men liberally. He giveth to all men liberally. All the wisdom you need, God has it, and he wants to give it to you. He's just waiting for you to ask. So we just got into the U.S. last night, and one of the things over in Romania, over in most of Europe really, you'll find a big difference at a lot of the restaurants. Okay, the restaurants in Romania, you go in, order the food, usually good price, but the problem that I always find in Romania is the drinks. Okay, so I go in and ask for, let's say, a Coke. All right, so the Coke comes, and it's usually about this big. It drives me crazy. It's like, I need 4 of them if I want to get through a meal, like this big. When I was a kid, I always remember I would go to a restaurant with my parents, and I would order my drink, and my mom would always say, Brent, be careful that you don't drink it all before your food gets here. Yeah? Your parents ever tell you that? My parents would always tell, don't drink it all before your food gets here. I'm not going to buy you another one. Don't drink it all before your food gets here. So now I'm saying that to my kids with their little bottles of Coke. But, of course, it would be sitting there, and I'd be waiting, and I'd start drinking, and I'd sip, and it would get halfway empty, and my mom would say, Brent, don't drink it all before the food gets here. But it's so hard when the cold drink is sitting there, and I'm just so bored waiting for my food. So in Romania, that's what we go through. We've got my little bottle of Coke, and it's difficult not to drink it before the food gets here. So now, last night, we get to Romania, and we get here to the U.S., and we go out to eat. And we go to a restaurant, and you order your Coke, and you drink it all before your food gets there. It doesn't matter why. Free refills. I love free refills. Free refills is a good thing. Okay, so now I one of these days I want to sit at a free refill restaurant with my mom beside me and say, Mom, watch this. Drink it all before my food gets there. Doesn't matter, Mom, doesn't matter. All right, so now it doesn't matter. I just ask and I get more. All the drink that I could possibly need to get through my meal, I've got it. That's what it means to be given liberally. All right, so God says, you're going through a difficult situation. I want to give you the wisdom to get through this. Not just a little bit, not just a little bottle of Coke, not even a big bottle of Coke. All the wisdom that you need, I'm going to give it to you to get through this situation. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask. Give it to all men liberally. When my oldest son was little, we used to, we were traveling all over the country. It was tough. we were traveling all over the country, little car, lots of bags, little children. It was difficult. But one thing that my oldest son and I like to do is we watch cartoons together. And one of the cartoons that we would watch together was Tom and Jerry. You guys know Tom and Jerry, I'm guessing, yeah? Tom the cat, Jerry the mouse. And usually the cat was trying to chase the mouse. Tom would try and catch Jerry. And it went back and forth. You guys know the cartoon. One episode. All right, kids, what's the dog's name from Tom and Jerry? Who knows? You sure? You sure it's not Spike? Caught ya. Maybe there's a Butch too. Maybe there's a Butch. But Spike is the one that I'm thinking of, okay? Spike is the big bulldog. All right, so one episode I'm watching Tom and Jerry, and there's the dog catcher on the side of the road. And in the back of the dog catcher van or truck or whatever was Spike. Little Jerry comes walking around, and Spike says, Psst, hey, little buddy, come here. And Jerry's kind of looking around like, you talking to me? He says, come here, get up here. So Jerry hops up on the back of the truck, and Spike says, listen, little buddy, you got to help me out here. You got to get me out of here. I can't go to this place. You got to get me out. And so Jerry unlocks the door, and Spike gets out. They're looking at, you guys are looking it up, aren't you? You're looking it up back there. What's that? Yeah, that's what I said. You might be right too. All right, that's all right. Butch is his middle name. So the bulldog, we'll call him the bulldog. So the bulldog, now I forget where I am. Oh yeah. So he gets out and he says, listen, little buddy, thank you. Thanks for helping me. I owe you. He says, if you ever need anything, all you got to do is whistle, and I'll be there. All right, they go the separate ways. All right, cut to the next scene, and what's happening? Of course, Jerry is chasing, Tom is chasing Jerry around and trying to catch him, and they're running around. They're actually inside the house, and they're running around in circles, and Jerry comes running around the corner, and Tom is there and catches him, and Jerry's like, what am I going to do? And then he remembers, wait, Spike Butch told me, just whistle. And so Jerry whistles, and the dog comes running, and you've seen the show. Grabs Tom by the neck and throttles his head and throws him in the trash can, and so on and so forth. And as Tom's laying there suffering, almost dead, Spike says to Jerry, "Remember what I said. Anytime you need me, just whistle." Cut to the next scene. Once again, we have Jerry chasing. Tom chasing Jerry, and once again catches him. This time he's looking around. He's a little bit scared. He's trying to make it so he can't whistle. But again, he whistles. Again, the dog comes, throttles him, throws him in the trash can, and we go on from there. Anytime Jerry needed help, all he had to do was whistle, and the dog was there to help. Now, I'm not trying to be flippant about God and his desire to help us. That was just an illustration to try to start to get you thinking a little bit about God and his desire to help us. And our refusal to take advantage of what God wants to do for us, right? God says, you don't know what to do. You don't have wisdom? Just ask me. I'll come help you. But we don't. We might look to friends. We might look to authors. We might look to the big name Christian speakers for help, how to get through this, how to deal with this problem. But too often we don't go straight to God and say, God, I don't know what to do. Just give me the wisdom to get through this. And so again, I understand this probably isn't a perfectly biblical picture, but this comes in my mind. This is a picture that I get in my mind, all right? So I see God in heaven standing on the clouds. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm back to the microphone. I'm back. So we have the God standing there on the clouds, and he's watching me. And he sees the situation I'm in. And he sees me suffering. And he sees me turning to my friends and my spouse and whoever else to try and help me. And he's saying, Brent, just ask me. Brent, just ask me. And then when I finally say, God, I don't know what to do, just help me, then he's there liberally pouring out wisdom onto my heart, onto my mind to help me get through the situation that I need to get through. He says, he giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not. Upbraideth not. He doesn't make fun. He doesn't chide, right? God doesn't say, Brent, he needs my help again. That guy never. Brent, why don't you always come to me? You always need my help. You never know what to do. It says God doesn't do that. God wants to help you. He wants you to succeed. He wants you to grow in your Christian life. He wants to give you the wisdom. Just ask. It says, and it shall be given to him. But there is a catch, maybe we'll call it. Verse 6 says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. So he says, yeah, ask me. When you need help, ask me for wisdom. I'll give it to you. But when you ask in faith, right? We can't go and just say, well, I don't know what else to do. I don't know. I heard something about God giving wisdom. God, if it's true, can you help me? God, I don't really know what you can do in this situation, but, if there's something you can do, help me. He says, no, ask in faith. Understand that I will help you, right? That's how it works with our salvation. Why do we think it's any different with the rest of our Christian life, our Christian walk, right? For me to be saved, I need to be saved through faith, yes? I cannot go to God and say, all right, I heard some preacher say that if I ask you to save me, you'll save me. I'm not sure that you exist. I don't know if you're real, but just to be sure, God save me. That man will not be saved, right? Because he doesn't have faith. Well, that's the way the rest of our Christian life is too. God continues to ask us to have faith in everything that we do. And so when he says, ask me for wisdom, I will give it to you, but ask in faith. It says the person that doesn't have faith is like what? Like a wave that's driven by the wind. Yeah, you get out into the sea, you get out into your difficult situations, and the storms come, and if you don't have faith, you're tossed this way and that way. Yeah, I'm tossed toward the church. I'm tossed out into the world. I'm tossed toward my friends. I grow. I sink. But if we have faith, then we're not tossed. If we have faith, we stand firm. If we have faith, we're given the wisdom that God has promised us during our difficult situations. So here in James chapter 1, he says, hey, you have a trial in your life, a temptation, a difficulty in your life, count it joy. Why? Why would I count it joy? Because this is an opportunity for you to grow in your spiritual life. Really? How am I going to grow in my spiritual life? Because you'll see. Because as you have faith and you ask me for help to get through this situation, you're going to grow. You're going to grow, and when you get to the other side of this trial, you're going to realize you're stronger in your faith than you were when you entered the difficult situation, the trial in your life. So count it a joy, have faith, ask Him to show you how to get through the trial, and you'll grow in your life. Let's have a word of prayer. Father, thank you for loving us and for sharing your word with us. Lord, thank you for allowing trials into our lives because we know that they're good for us. Lord, I pray that you'll just help us to always have the faith that we need, not to forget who you are and that you are there to help us. Lord, to always turn to you first for the wisdom that we need to grow in our lives. I pray this in